The Chicago Bears are partying across the pond as they get set to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend in London. To baseball, Cubs owner Tom Ricketts takes a page out of Jerry Reinsdorf's playbook. What did he say or didn't say? We'll break it all down. In the baseball playoffs, Game 5 will be set between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, while the Cleveland Guardians force a Game 5 of their series against the Detroit Tigers. That and our Week 6 NFL picks and our Week 7 college football preview. That and a whole lot more as the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports So Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, the kids again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I give Lakina full powers to give you fools to be able to be a boot. But before we begin, we must remind you when the problem arises, and hopefully it gets fixed and done very soon. You can catch Sports Zone Chicago's program, including Second City Sports, live in the living color on Roku TV. So no more excuses to celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV once the issue is fixed. So once all the issues are fixed, hopefully sooner rather than later, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago and the rest of the Second City Sports programming on Roku TV. And you know we will provide. Lakina, on with the show.
All right, so of course, let's get it going here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll have our Week 6, I should say, NFL picks as the Bears are in London gearing up for their matchup against the Jaguars, and also some great matchups too outside of that. So that should be a lot of fun. Of course, you got great rivalry matchups coming up. Week 7 of college football. We got a couple of greats announcing their retirements, and CHSN update. Sid should be a little bit more optimistic than me, so I'll explain all that. But first, let's go to the Diamond, Sid, and talk some baseball. We got a big Game 5 tonight in the NLDS. You've got the Padres and the Dodgers, and we'll talk about that matchup in a second. But congrats to the Yankees and the Mets. They've already clinched their respective spots to the respective LCS. Mets go for the first time in the LCS since I think 2000, which is when, of course, you had that Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees. Much to the chagrin of a lot of us here outside of New York City. Of course, Yankees are the first times in a few years, but. So let's go to the Mets first, because I really did not expect them to dominate the Phillies in Game 4. The Phillies just weren't. A lot of their top guys, outside that short home run earlier in the series, it just wasn't enough. And look, the pitching, they took care of business. Diaz took care of business in the bullpen. He had a little bit of hiccups here, but he was able to kind of get out of that. And of course, Lindor in that grand slam that clinched that series for the Mets, and same thing with the Yankees. I mean, look, Stanton, Giancarlo Stanley hit a. We said that he was going to have to be a big showing in that series
Mhm.
against the Royals, and they did just that. And also, experience kind of helped with that series too.
Here's first thing for the New York Mets. They carried that momentum from the last game of the regular season against the Atlanta Braves, splitting that doubleheader, qualifying for the playoffs. You saw what they did in that two-game sweep against the Milwaukee Brewers. You saw them dominate against the Philadelphia Phillies. It was great pitching, but both their starters and their bullpen and clutch hitting. That's the name of the game in the playoffs at this time of year. You're not going to face third, fourth, and fifth starters in the rotation. You're going to face the other team's top two starters. In the Mets, in clutch fashion, got it done. You mentioned about Francisco Lindor. He's dealing with a bad back. Came up with a big grand slam the other day to clinch it in Game 4. Pete Alonso. I know Mets fans have been worried about him all year long. I know he's pinned free agency, but that's a whole nother conversation. But he's been delivered in the clutch. You saw in that series against Milwaukee in the clincher. He delivered a big home run there. He had 2 home runs in the series against Philadelphia. His bat is starting to heat up. Shout out to Sean Manaea, who's on passed away before Game 3. He had a dominating performance. So the Mets are riding that wave of momentum. We say it every year. It's a team that gets hot toward the end of the season. They ride that momentum to the playoffs, and that's what the Mets have been doing. On the flip side, for the New York Yankees, like you said, and we talked about it around this time last week as we gave you our picks on the show. I said the Yankees before. It turns out your boy was correct. Why? Like you said, because of the experience. Judge didn't have a great series offensively, but it was Giancarlo Stanton picking it up. It was Garrett Cole who pitched the gym last night, keeping those Royals bats at bay. It's
Hmm.
all about pitching. It looks like the bullpen issues as of now for the Yankees have been strained out. Clayton Holmes is not the closer anymore. Is Weaver is the closer. So both the New York teams are on pace for that Subway Series. I'm not saying we'll be mad if it happens, but right now both these teams are playing fundamentally sound baseball, and that's what you need definitely at this time of year.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Talking about some MLB playoffs right now, and that home run by Stan is his eighth postseason home run and his 15th career postseason game. It's the most by any hitter has had through his first 15 career road postseason games. So a big thing for him and such, to help the Yankees clinch that series. Of course, like you said, Garrett Cole pitched great last night and just neutralized him. And it was just one of those things where it was just like just a great performance by the Yankees. They took care of business and such, and that's why we were able to kind of do that and clinch that. Now we'll talk about these other two series as we go to break. But this matchup coming up, for the Padres and Dodgers, it'll be Yu Darvish versus Yoshimoto Yamamoto. It'll be the first matchup of Japanese-born starting pitchers in MLB history. So it's really gonna come down to like setting the tone. I know that Darvish was able to kind of tame those Dodger bats in Game 2, and I kind of feel like Game 3 I should say, but I kind of feel like it's sort of one of those things where you're like, I think the Dodgers got to do what they did on Wednesday. They had to set the tone early, jump on, get your offense, going early. So that way you kind of put the Padres in the hole, and they can't get out of it. So I think that's going to be the key here for me in the Dodger series. I know Yamamoto did struggle in Game 1, but I think if he can kind of maybe his mindset's sort of like very different. Him and Shoto, but I think if you're the Dodgers, you want to try to jump on the Padres and on Darvish early.
So much for Mookie Betts struggling in the playoffs, huh? He has hit back-to-back home runs in his last 2 games. Freddie Freeman, I know he's been dealing with an ankle injury, which happened back in the San Diego series toward the last week of the regular season. He got pulled in the end of Game 2, I believe. So with this the day off they had yesterday, he should be able to go tonight. But Shohei Ohtani had a strong start to this series, especially with that 3-1 home run in his first at bat in his first ever playoff game, but he's been struggling ever since. But the Dodgers, they have to put it all together. Mookie Betts, it looks like he's been out of his playoff funk, as I mentioned. Teoscar Hernandez had that grand slam in Game 3, but the Dodgers couldn't get over
Yep.
that hump as San Diego won Game 3. But so much for that bullpen session too, huh, Lakina? that your pitching staff
Mm-hmm.
can relax after you jump out to 8-0 lead, huh? That's what the Dodgers did. And so tonight for
Mm-hmm.
Yamamoto, like you mentioned, he didn't look great in game one. This is game five, so this is about all the marbles. If you see any hintings of a struggle, Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, won't be hesitant to pull him. So, will Jack Flaherty, who some fans thought should have gotten the start tonight, will he be used as well tonight? We shall see. It dictates what happens early in the game. On the flip side for San Diego, Yu Darvish, remember Dodgers fans, Game 7 against Houston, no one knew at the time, but Houston had an advantage, and I mean a
Mm-hmm.
big advantage, and some Dodgers fans blame Yu Darvish for tipping his pitches. That's one of the reasons why the Dodgers lost Game 7 at home to the Houston Trash Throws in 2017. But isn't this a perfect scenario tonight, Lakina? Dodger Stadium, Yu Darvish, what San Diego did in Game 1. Even though they didn't play well the other night, they still rolling in with confidence. We played here in Dodger Stadium before. We could do it again. And for you, Darvish should be poetic justice if he can put on a masterful performance tonight.
Should be a very interesting game 5, and that game 5 will be at 7 o'clock on Fox. So that should be a fun one. Should get big ratings there. Now, as we take a real quick break, of course, we not forget there is one game 5 coming up tomorrow as the Guardians force game 5 against the Tigers. We'll preview that and some great matchups in college football too as we go to week 7, about halfway through the season. So, including a couple of big time rivalries that are being renewed in different conferences. So, Keenan McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports, Sports in Chicago. More Diamond talk and college football talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, which is me. That's Lakina McGee, which is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kid McGee on the Twitter, execute McGee on the IG.
We have 85 minutes left, so in this extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Let's talk about the other matchup that the game 5 that'll be tomorrow. As the Guardians force game 5, they beat the Tigers 5-4. Much to the chagrin of some of the Detroit people that we know that are hanging on every win right there. David Fry from the Guardians, he became the first player in MLB history to have a go-ahead pinch hit home run and a run-scoring bunt in the same game. Regular or postseason, so that was a big difference there for the Guardians. They were the force game 5. That'll be tomorrow. So, what do you think the key to game 5? Each other well. So, this is going to be something that I think if you're they got Tariq Skubal, the Tigers do. So he's going to start game 5. Nothing officially yet on Cleveland side. So we'll probably happen until after we get off. But this game will be on TBS and on Stream on Max tomorrow night at 7:08. So if you take a break from college football, you can watch that if you want. But I think if Skubal could be like we saw in game 1, I think Tigers can kind of control it. Probably give guys like Riley Green to step up there. That can kind of go. But if you're the Guardians, you want to try to set the tone early, get to Skubal early, and then see if you can kind of maybe rally him a little bit, make AJ Hinch use the bullpen, and then maybe just have it out.
It's been a back and forth series. Of course, Cleveland dominates game 1 with that 7-0 win. Detroit comes back with Kerry Carpenter's 3-run home run in the 9th inning to win game 2. Detroit wins again in game 3, and then Cleveland wins last night in game 4. So what I think this game is going to come down to tomorrow is the base paths. Who's going to steal the most bases, and who's going to be smarter running the bases? Because call me crazy, Lakina, unless you know something or saw something that I didn't. Both these teams haven't ran the base paths very well in this series. You mentioned the Detroit Tigers bullpen. I think, like I said, for the last few weeks, that's their MVP. They don't have really any big bats that you're afraid of in this lineup. Okay, maybe Riley Green to a certain extent, but outside of that, they don't have any people that can scare you. It's that certain pitcher, like you mentioned, is going tomorrow night with Tariq Skubal. On the flip side for Cleveland, they have big time players like Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez, and Josh and Bo Naylor, the Baylor brothers. So they have names in there that can scare you on any given day. But it's going to come down to base stealing. Who's going to be smarter in running the base paths, and it's going to come down to the bullpens. And if you're Detroit, you jump all over that Cleveland starting pitcher, as we said all year long, due to injuries and whatnot. It's been shaky. Their bullpen's good, but their starting pitchers have been average at best, to say the least. So if you're Detroit, you jump out on Cleveland early. Tariq Skubal can relax and do what he needs to do, and you shut it down with that bullpen.
Could be interesting to see what happens with that. Like I said, the game will be tomorrow night at 7:08, first pitch Central Time on TBS and also stream on Max. So it should be a good one between two AFC Central rivals. So we'll see what happens in that game 5. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, Lakina McGee, stay with you. Let's go to the gridiron for a bit, Sid, and talk a little college football. Liberty, they stay undefeated. They needed overtime, but on Tuesday they stay undefeated, beating Florida International. That matchup James Madison continues their great run. They had handled Coastal Carolina 39-7 last night. Western Kentucky beats Utah. I think they only have like one loss this year. Talk about talk about Western Kentucky. Also to Louisiana Tech, they pulled away from Middle Tennessee. Now, tonight's matchups, you got a good one here in the Big Ten. You got Northwestern against Maryland. That's at 7 o'clock on FS1. UNLV coming off their loss, again, their first loss this season. They face Utah State at CBS Sports Network at 8. And, of course, at 9:30, the late matchup in the Big 12 is usually a Pac-12 matchup. Now it's the Big 12 matchup. Yeah, confusing, I know. Number 16, Utah against Arizona State. That should be a fun one over there in 10P. Now going into Saturday, tomorrow on ABC, South Carolina and Alabama. We'll see how Alabama responds after getting upset at Vanderbilt. So you think Shane Bieber and his guys have a shot?
South Carolina, no. Will Alabama destroy the Gamecocks? Yes, they will. Here's right. Jalen Monroe, who's a top 5 Heisman candidate, he's going to bring it. Unlike last week, we had a couple of turnovers on the road. He's going to play a whole lot better. And Alabama's going to have a stronger running game. And I expect their stud wide receiver, Ryan Williams, as well to have a big game. So Alabama, what they couldn't do last week, is take care of the football and run the ball with some consistency. They'll correct those mistakes. They're at home, and they have an inferior opponent they can work those kinks out on. So I expect Alabama to roll here. They're favored by 21 points at home.
Should be interesting down there in Tuscaloosa. Clemson and Wake Forest, 11 a.m. on ESPN the same time. On ESPN2, the Fighting Mike Furmans. Mike, if you're listening from NBC Chicago for the show, they should take care of business against UMass. I'm a little I'm a little weird that they would go to UMass this late in the year, but halfway through their season. But hey, college football scheduling, whatever. That'll be on ESPN2 at 11 a.m. On Fox, the big noon Saturday game as Washington face Iowa. Washington coming off that kind of a mild upset against Michigan, and Iowa coming off getting they stayed with Ohio State for a little bit, but they got thumped in the second half. So this should be an interesting matchup. Kinnick Stadium. Well, it's not nighttime, so there shouldn't be anything too weird happening there. But it's mid-October, so you never know.
You would think that Iowa will play a whole lot better after getting destroyed in that second half. If you're Iowa, the only way I think you can score points is by running the ball with some consistency with Caleb Johnson. He has 10 rushing touchdowns over the year, over 71 yards on the year. For Washington, this is going to be an early game for them. We talked about it over the summer league, Keena. Some of these West Coast teams that are now in the Big Ten, you're going to have to play some early games, not at home, but on the road. This is going to be the first big test for Washington. I don't know if they're going to be up for the challenge, but we'll see if Will Rogers, their star quarterback, will have a big game. So far, he has 12 touchdown passes to 1 interception on the year. And also, too, their big-time wide receiver, Denzel Boston, 8 receiving touchdowns on the year. He's going to have a big day as well. Pay attention to the first 10-15 minutes of the game to see how Washington responds. If they can stay in there early, not go through the motions, I think they have a real shot. But these early time starts for these West Coast teams is going to be key. The first 10-15 minutes of the game is going to tell the whole story, in my opinion.
I think I read somewhere that they did get to Iowa like a day early for that reason. So maybe hopefully that'll help with the body clocks a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting one over there at Kinnick Stadium. At the same time on Big Ten Network, I think our buddy Kylan Mills is going to be on the sidelines for this one. I think, I'm not sure, but Wisconsin and Rutgers, that should be an interesting matchup at 11 a.m. on the Big Ten Network. Georgia Tech and North Carolina on the CW, Channel 9, those of you guys here in Chicago. Army, one of their best starts, they host UAB. That's going to be on CBS Sports Network. Starting with the 2:30 games, this is weird because I'm not used to this game being on at 2:30. At the Red River Rivalry, an SEC matchup. Yes, welcome to college sports in 2024. You got Texas and Oklahoma. And of course, as Kingdom is going to be on ABC. It's been ABC for as long as I can remember, so at least they kept that tradition going. But I think Texas, of course, Quinn Ewers is back at quarterback, so that should definitely help them. This should be an interesting.
Would you start him or keep Arch Manning at the starting quarterback?
Well, he's feeling better. He's looked good in practice. So I think that's why Coach Sark pulled the trigger. So maybe we'll see how he looks. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks, even though Arch has played very well against, getting that confidence against inferior opponents. But if you're Oklahoma, you want to try to get your defense, try to slow him down. Get that, slow him down some of the wide receivers early, and Isaiah Bond. I mean, that's probably going to be the key guy. Get the key guy there for Texas. If you're Oklahoma, you want to try to slow him down too. We'll see if Brett Venables and his defense can kind of try to, kind of like slow him and the running backs down. So I think for me, it's really going to depend on who can kind of force the other to play their style.
Also, too, I think it's going to come down to the running game. Jaden Blue for the Longhorns has 238 rushing yards on the year and 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a big key for that Texas Longhorns offense. And also, too, Isaiah Bond, 3 receiving touchdowns on the year. I expected to have a breakout game here. Texas is favored by 14.5 points, even though it's technically a road game. It's a neutral site game, and it's a play on the Cotton Bowl in Dallas.
Yeah, it's going to be split down the middle, so I don't think there's not going to be any like big, home advantage or anything like that either way. It's never been that way, so we'll see what happens. Should be a fun one here. Should be an interesting one over in Los Angeles, as USC they host Penn State on CBS and Paramount Plus, streaming on Paramount Plus. So I think if Penn State again, they've kind of quietly, got it going. They're at number 4. USC, I mean, they've had a couple of tough losses in the last few weeks. I think if you're USC, you want to try to see if you can kind of slow down that running attack of Penn State because they can run the ball very well. And for Penn State, you want to try to see if you can force Miller Moss to kind of like, be erratic and kind of force him to kind of like Aaron throws and stuff. So I think for me, it's going to be one of those things where it should help Penn State because look, you're going out west, so it's going to be an afternoon matchup. So there's not shouldn't be any issue there. But it's going to be interesting to see like who can kind of force each team to kind of like adapt to whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that Coach Franklin for the Penn State Nittany Lions, say that 5 times fast. What's his defensive game plan going to be against Miller Moss? How many times he's going to blitz him? Will he treat him like a quote unquote rookie quarterback in the NFL, blitz him every first and third down, or will they come with some surprise blitzes? What's the percentage of the blitzes that he's going to run? And also, too, on the flip side for USC, to keep Miller Moss upright, the offensive line is definitely for the Trojans definitely going to have to do his job. Whitney Marks, their star running back, is going to have a big day. So far, he has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. They're going to have to ride his back, in my opinion, for them to even have a chance. And also, going back to Penn State, their big tight end, Tyler Warren, he has 3 receiving touchdowns on the year. Look for him to have a big day if he can do his work against those USC linebackers.
Should be a fun one over there at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. At the same time, on NBC, Stanford faces Notre Dame. Stanford at 2-3, Notre Dame at 4-1. Notre Dame's been playing very well since that loss to Northern Illinois. Stanford, is one of those teams where they can be a little bit tricky. They've done it before at South Bend, so should be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, hopefully for you, an Irish fan, hopefully quarterback Riley Leonard can play much better. I know so far this year he has 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and he also leads the team in rushing, which is a problem in my opinion. But hopefully he plays better. Their defense for the Irish has been outstanding, as you mentioned, since the NIU loss. So hopefully the offense can be more consistent and catch up. And they almost gave it away to Louisville last week, 2 weeks ago, I should say. But that offense has some kinks to work out, in my opinion.
Yes, they do. So we'll see. And Stanford likes to blitz, so that's going to be the key there as well. Will the blitzing, kind of freak them out? Cal, we'll see how their mindset is after losing that tough one to Miami late last Saturday. They face a Pittsburgh team. This is the first time they're 5-0 for the first time since '91. That's going to be at 2:30 on ESPN. So we'll see how Cal, look how you respond. Look, you can either respond by, shake it off and try to play well against a really solid Pitt team, or you kind of just let it let Pitt roll over you. So we'll see how the Golden Bears respond. Now, Illinois, they host Purdue.
Yay! Wearing my shirt. Yay! You can see it.
As our buddy Herb. Yeah, I see it. Or somebody heard Laura says per don't. That's kind of a thing with Illini grads. Don't mind that. That's gonna be at 2:30 on FS1. They shouldn't have no trouble with Purdue, because they have their own issues over there in West Lafayette. But they should be okay there. Cincinnati and UCF. That's at 2:30 on ESPN2. Colorado State hosts San Jose State on True TV and streaming on Max. San Diego State and Wyoming, that's at 2:30 on CBS Sports Network. Arizona and BYU at 3 o'clock on Fox. Now, again, Arizona is one of those squads where they can kind of force you into kind of like playing their style. They like to blitz a lot, so we'll see what they can do. And BYU is undefeated, but again, they're facing a Arizona team that's very very feisty.
Yeah, Arizona has some offensive weapons, starting with that quarterback, Noah Fafita. He has 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the year. He needs to cut down on the turnovers. If he does that, I think he'll have a big day. Their star running back, Quali Conley, has 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. They're going to use him a lot, in my opinion, to jumpstart that offense. And look out for that star wide receiver, Mr. Tetaria McMillan, 664 receiving yards on the year and 4 touchdowns.
This is probably going to be the best team that BYU has faced this year, so we'll see how Arizona does over there in Provo. 3:15 on the SC Network, we got Georgia hosting Mississippi State. As we go into the primetime matchups, 2 old rivals. Tennessee, they're not going to be in a very good mood after losing to Arkansas down there in Fayetteville, 6 o'clock on ESPN. I think, Florida, I don't know what's going on down there in Gainesville, but, hopefully they can kind of, this is a perfect get-right game for Tennessee, because they didn't play well. Josh Heupel was very adamant that the team just didn't play well last year. They couldn't execute a lot of the big plays that they usually do. So, why not get it? Why not have a little bit, get back on track against one of your rivals?
Yeah, the Volunteers defense is one of the top 5 defensive units in the country, in my opinion. On offense, you should see Dylan Sampson run the ball very well. He had 12 rushing touchdowns on the year. On the flip side for the Gators, Elijah Badger has 2 receiving touchdowns on the year. If Florida is going to have a chance, they got to play disciplined football, because we know that the atmosphere in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville is going to be rocking, as you would say. So Florida has to play disciplined football, and they got to get a couple turnovers to even stay in this game. If they do, they'll have a great shot. But I think that Tennessee Volunteers defense is going to rise to the occasion, like you said, especially after being upset on the road last Saturday night.
Air Force, New Mexico. That's on True TV and Max. Also at 6 o'clock, you got Wazoo against Fresno State on FS1. Let's see here. Some of the other big matchups. Probably the biggest matchup is in the Big Ten. Yeah, I know it's weird saying it because they face each other a couple of times in the Rose Bowl. But you got number 2 Ohio State and number 3 Oregon. That's at 6:30 on NBC, and also streaming on Peacock. And Dylan Gabriel.
Here comes Saturday night. Here comes Saturday night. Sorry.
Careful, so you might have to pay royalties.
Right, that's why I stopped.
Good. This should be an interesting matchup. I mean, this is going to probably be the Ohio State's toughest test this year. And I think if you're Ohio State, I mean, you're going to go in there. I think it's like the second time they've been up there in Eugene. So this is going to be kind of an interesting matchup on how they do. Will Howard has to kind of like set the tone early, take that crowd out of it. Dylan Gabriel has to cut down those red zone interceptions. I think he leads the nation like 5 or 6. So you can't do that against Ohio State defense. That could definitely they're one of those opportunistic types of defenses. So you don't want to make any big mistakes against them. Now Jordan James, you maybe seen him a lot in the backfield. He's the key to kind of like get them going on offense. Keep guys like Will Howard and Travion Henderson off the field for Ohio State. And I think the key here, I think, is going to be, like I said, set the tone for which he can set the tone early on, especially.
Yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes defense, you mentioned, it's an opportunistic defense. It could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, because we all know that Oregon likes to score. They like to put up points in bunches. So I think where it's going to come down to is taking care of that football and how many quarterback sacks that each squad is going to get. I'm gonna set the number at 3. Well, one more again, as the kids would say. I'll set the number at 3. If if Ohio State and or Oregon gets 3 sacks or more, whoever gets 3 sacks or more, they'll win the ball game because I expect both these offenses to shine and light up the scoreboard. For Ohio State, watch out for that star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. He has 6 touchdown receptions on the year. We talked about Dylan Gabriel. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, top candidate for a Heisman Trophy. So it's going to be a good game. The over on the total is 54.5. Entertainment purposes only. And Ohio State is favored by 3 points on the road. I get why Vegas is leaning towards that way, but Oregon has the home field advantage, and I think they're going to win this ball game by 3.
Yeah, they may feed off that crowd too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that matchup. Another top 15 matchup that's probably not getting a lot of attention, but it's going to be down at Tyler Stadium in Baton Rouge. You got Ole Miss, number 9 Ole Miss, number 13 LSU. No love lost between Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly, so this is gonna be interesting to see how kind of all this goes. But yeah, I think Ole Miss, they've kind of gotten back on track after losing to Kentucky. So I think they might have been caught looking ahead to this game a couple of weeks ago, but they took care of business last week. And LSU, I mean, it's sort of you never know which LSU team you're gonna get, so I don't really know what is gonna have a offset it. So yeah, I mean, look, I mean the defense for Ole Miss, they're gonna be challenged, on that offense for LSU. I know, they want to try to kind of get the try to put the pressure on that offense early. So if you're Ole Miss, you need to kind of get your offense going. I know Jackson Dirk's been very solid this year, 13 TDs and 2 interceptions so far this year. I think if you want to try to set the tone and keep the Tigers offense off the field, we have to just tuck it along and and we know Lane Kiffin can do that. So we'll see if they can kind of set the tone early. Same thing with LSU and their offense and defense.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin, I'm sure, has some nightmares looking at the game film from Ole Miss during this week. Don't forget about Henry Parrish Jr. For Ole Miss. 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. And also, too, Trey Harris, their star wide receiver. 52 catches, 885 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. So look for those two to have a big day. In Mississippi State, Ole Miss is favored by 3.5 points on the road.
Yeah, so I guess Vegas knows something that we don't. So we'll see what happens there. Oregon State and Nevada. That's on CBS Sports Network at 6:30. Cap off that quadruple header. And there's a game. Well, you know what? Vanderbilt, Kentucky. I mean, I know Kentucky's been was off last week. Vanderbilt. I mean, we'll see how much of a high they're in for that win against Alabama. We'll see. But they've been pretty feisty this year. So if you're, I know. I know Mike Stoops is going to make sure his guys don't take them lightly. So we'll see how that goes as well. But 7 o'clock game on the Big Fox Network. You got Iowa State and West Virginia in the Big 12, and I think what's going to be interesting to me in this matchup for here because these two they've been down to the wire the last few years, and if you're Iowa State, they again quietly. They've been quietly playing very well. They got that big win against Iowa. They're only they're 2-0. They're 5-0 right now, still undefeated. So I think if you're Iowa State, that's going to be the key here. I think they were off. They were off last week, so they were able to kind of get it going right for this game. And I think if you want to try to, if you're Iowa State, you want to try to kind of set that tone early on. And probably one of the better quarterbacks that you guys probably don't know too much about it, but Rocco Brett, who's a sophomore, he's been playing very well this year. 9 TDs and 3 interceptions, but it's really been the running game for Iowa State. That's why they're undefeated so far.
Also, too, Iowa State star wide receiver Jalen Noel has 24 receptions, 451 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Hopefully, he can build up on those totals. Like you say, the Cyclones like to chuck up points, especially in bunches. The over on the total is 53.5, and Iowa State is favored by 3 on the road.
Ooh, should be fun down there in Morgantown. I got a little bit ahead of myself here. Syracuse and NC State on the AC Network, I should say. We got Minnesota, your buddy PJ Fleck, coming off the that win against SC. They face UCLA at 8 o'clock on the Big Ten. Yes, they're playing Big Ten games at 8 o'clock. You'll go figure.
Mhm.
Should be a fun one. Should be a fun one over there in Los Angeles. So, but yeah, Minnesota. We'll see if they can build on that on the onset sweep the LA teams in the regular season.
Yeah, Minnesota should set the tone right away, and like you said, they come off a big upset at home against USC in that with a big turnaround performance in the second half. Max Brosmer had a good game last week. Hopefully, he can build up upon that. Also, too, their star running back Darius Taylor has 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. Hopefully, he can have another big game too. And also, too, Daniel Jackson, their number 1 wide receiver, only 1 receiving touchdown on the year. Hopefully, he can get it going here against a lesser opponent.
All right, so last couple of games here for this week 7. Kansas State and Colorado, both teams only have 1 loss. This at 9:15 on ESPN. I know Colorado was off. I think so was K-State as well. So both teams. This is an old Big 12 matchup, Big 8 matchup, kids. So these two teams, they haven't played each other in a couple of years, but K-State's been very careful not to say anything to kind of rile up. I guess
Prime
Colorado.
time.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see how they. We know about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and and that group, but look, they've got some good ones too. You got Avery Johnson, who's a sophomore. He's been playing very well for K-State this year. The quarterback side, probably one of the better running backs in the country that you guys probably don't know too much about, but. He's been one of the very good, DJ Gibbs. He's been one of the keys to why, 604 yards. I know he only had 2 rushing touchdowns, but he can chug it along. They've been able to steal games thanks to him. So Colorado State better be careful. That defense better be very careful facing him.
You kind of stole my point. I wanted to bring that up. Colorado's defense has been a little bit better than it was last year. You saw what they did against UCF on the road a couple of weeks ago, but caution Buffalo fans this. The Colorado Buffaloes must stay disciplined. Enough with the silly penalties, enough with the undisciplined actions. They must put a cease to that immediately. You playing against a better team in K-State. Also, too, for Colorado, you must run the ball with some consistency. I thought they started to do that a little bit more a couple of weeks ago at UCF. You saw them doing a little bit in that win in overtime against Baylor a couple of weeks ago. So for Deion Sanders and crew, you got to play discipline. You got to be more aggressive on defense, run the ball. And we didn't even talk about him yet, but Travis Hunter, who's definitely a top 2 Heisman candidate, I think he's going to have another big game. So after him, you got to have other players step up offensively. And like I say, in particular, I'm focusing on that running game for Colorado.
Should be a fun one over there in Boulder. Now, of course, last but not least, the Hawaii game. I know our buddy Twan Stid from New York Daily News probably won't be able to see him play, but they're off on their they're off. Jets are off, but the Jets are off this week, so he might actually be able to watch this. Boise State, Hawaii. Ashton Genty, we've talked about the last couple of weeks. Has over 1,000 yards and 16 TDs. I think he's like among like the top, if not the top rushing guy in FBS. My only concern is that you don't want to wear him out, especially if Boise State, going into the Mountain West and that championship and they get into the playoff. You don't want to wear him out, so he's going to need some help. And plus, you're going to be away from the blue turf. And you're going to be in near the ocean in the Big Island, so it's going to be interesting to see how he does in that element. So, but it should be entertaining. A lot of those Hawaii games are always entertaining in Hawaii, even though they started late. So, but yeah, I mean that's gonna be the key. But yeah, I feel like wearing him out, as the season goes. That's what the fatigue's gonna be a factor here. I think as we go along, but we'll see.
Yeah, they're playing on the island, and like you say, both these teams like to put up points. Vegas has a total set at 59.5, and Boise State is favored by 20.5.
Okay, so we'll see if they can at least keep it close up on Boise's Hawaii, I should say. So we'll see what happens. That's your schedule for a busy week in week 7 in college football. All right. right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, of course. London calling as the Bears gear up for their matchup against the Jags in England. Already been a firing in the NFL. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Of course, our picks, and I got some big news. We are with myself, assistant Christine. Well, she's not going to be on with us today, but there's some big news coming up as we go into the standings. I'll talk about that as we get to the break. And of course, so a couple of great top retirements. Preview of what we'll see in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony coming up on Sunday. And speaking of future Hall of Famers, 2 highly talented twins have announced their college intentions. So we'll talk about all that and more. More fun coming next. Keenan McGee, Senior Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. Come back for our NFL Power Hour coming up after this.
No, I don't know. No, I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports in this hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakeem McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
As we start hour number 2 with our Bears Jaguars preview, if you have any questions, comments, or predictions for us, you can hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go to London. Of course, unfortunately, we are not in London, unfortunately, but but the Bears they're going to be facing Jacksonville at where Tottenham plays. They're going to be at Tottenham Stadium. That's where Tottenham. If you're familiar with the Premier League, that's where they're going to be playing in Tottenham's stadium there. And seriously, they've been there since Monday. I'm talking about the Bears, of course, the Jags. They didn't get there till last night because of all this up with Hurricane Milton. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people there. Contact your Red Cross if you want to help, if you can and want to help out there. But this is going to be, some people, everyone said that the last week's game against Carolina is going to be the quote unquote trap game. I think this is probably going to be the trap game too. I mean, Jacksonville, they did get their first win of the season against Indy. But I think for me, if you're the Bears, you want to try to take advantage of their front four is good, their front seven isn't, and their secondary is kind of blah at best. So you want to, if you're Caleb Williams, you want to try to take advantage of that early on and see if you can set the tone there offensively. Now, as far as the defense goes, I mean, look, you got Travis Etienne. I mean, he's probably one of the top running backs in the league. Although he hasn't really fulfilled his potential, so that if you're kind of like setting it up here, and I think the Jacksonville folks still think they have a shot, perhaps maybe challenging the AFC South. So if you're they've made this trek. I know people say, why did they get there till late? But people need to remember they've been doing this for the last 3 or 4 years. They're gonna have another game coming up, next week. So I think people need to kind of not get too that Lawrence. I mean, he can't make any mistakes. If you're the Bears defense, you want to try to not to kind of like try to Trevor Lawrence. Of course, there's something that he's not comfortable with doing, so that's going to be the key there as well. So I think if you're take Bigsby now. Shout out to our buddy Marshall Harris, of course, new co-host with Bernstein and Harris. Bigsby makes a big difference when he's not on the field. So that might be the key here. If you're Doug Peters, you want to try to put Bigsby out there as much as possible. Now, the Bears are going to be up with a couple of their key guys on defense. So that could be, it should be an easy one for the Bears. But I'm just like, that's going to be, risk or not being there, that's going to be a big, probably bigger than a lot of people want to admit.
Taking a look at the numbers from both these teams in the rankings so far this year. On offense, Jaguars ranked 13th, the Bears 26th. Defense, Jaguars third from the bottom in the league at number 30 for those of you scoring at home, while the Bears defense overall ranks 9th. In passing, 18th for Jacksonville, 21 for Chicago. And in rushing, as you mentioned, with Travis Etienne and Tyrone Bigsby. Jacksonville ranks 8th overall in the National Football League, while the Bears are 4th from the bottom at 28. Lakina, I'm with you as far as this Bears defense is very good. They are very good at taking the ball away, but that rush defense has been terrible all year. And I don't care what time that Jacksonville got in, which was yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 years ago, whatever. The Bears defensive game plan should focusing on stopping that Jacksonville Jaguars running game. You saw what they did against Indianapolis last week. If the Bears are not careful here, the Jaguars could do the same thing to this top 10 defense in the league.
Yeah, I mean, and we know that Indy isn't, their defense isn't, kind of blah. We know that defense for the Bears is going to be shorthanded, so don't be surprised if we see a lot of Bigsby and AT. I know AT is questionable, but if he's not limited, Tank is Tank's probably going to want to take advantage of that as well. So I know people want to say that this is going to be an easy game for the Bears, blah blah. Jacksonville's not going to be okay. They're 1-4, whatever, but. Let's remember too. I mean, there were a couple of those games that Jags could have won. They could be 3. They could be right where the Bears are right now. So I think for people to look at the Jacksonville's record and say, the Bears should win handily or whatever. Like you said, it doesn't matter when they got there. They're used to this. They've been doing this for like I said, like 3 or 4 years. Or 3 of the last 4 years, I should say, or 4 of the last 5 years. So they know what to do. And I think to say that jet lag and stuff like that. Look, you guys, they're used to this. So. It's sort of one of those days where you kind of, I don't know, like this could be another one of those toss-up games. I mean, like you said, the running game is going to be the key here, I think. And if you're, Jackson's actually pretty good at stopping the run, while the Bears defense is, it's been a little bit iffy. So I think for me, that's going to be the key here. And like you said, I mean, the weather should be great. The weather, it shouldn't be an issue over there. And I think the Bears. this is a trap game, not that Panthers game last week. This is a trap game for the Bears, and I just think that yeah, you want to go to the bye week 4-2, but there's no such thing as a gimme in the NFL. I wish people would stop saying that.
Well, I'm gonna pile on a little bit more, Lakina. We talked about the Jacksonville's running game, but I want to focus it on their wide receivers. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but Tyrese Stevenson could be missing in action this Sunday as well. We talked about Christian Kirk. You saw what his injury did to that Jaguars team last year. He wasn't there. That was one of the reasons why they missed the playoffs. He's back this year, having a nice, solid season. But pay attention to that first-round draft pick, Brian Thomas Jr. He had that long touchdown reception last week that helped the Jaguars defeat the Indianapolis Colts last week by 3. Talking about Mr. Thomas, he has 22 receptions, close to 400 yards on the year, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So you assume that Jalen Johnson will be matched up on him at some point in the game. He doesn't start out in the game on him. I want to see how the Bears defense will play against him, against both receivers, but in particular on Thomas.
Yeah, Stevenson's doubtful, so we'll see if I think that they just updated that I think early this morning that he is doubtful, so that could be another big loss for that Bears defense. So I think if you're Carolina, you want to try to take advantage of all that maybe run the ball a lot. So see what happens in that front. But yeah, I think Jacksonville's got some look. I'm not saying they're going to win the AFC South or go challenge for a playoff spot, but they've got some good players on that squad, and I think the Bears still have not shown they can do it consistently. So I think for me, this is going to be interesting. So like I said that told earlier, if you're the Jags, the Bears, same thing. You want to try to maybe have Caleb, try to make those throws and such, because their secondary is kind of blah. So hopefully he can take advantage of that. So yeah, it could be come down to the trenches, as you said. So yeah. Should be an interesting game over there in London.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you as we preview the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They'll kick off the Week 6 Sunday schedule on NFL Network and locally here in Chicago on Fox 32 Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. As we continue our preview, I want to focus in on that Bears offense, Lakina. You mentioned Caleb Williams. He still has a long way to go, but at least for the last couple of weeks, it looks like he's starting to figure it out. No turnovers in each of his last 2 games, which is very key. DeAndre Swift, thank you, offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, for finally waking the hell up. He's starting to give him the ball a little bit more. You start to see a little bit more balance in this offense. If you feed their running back the rock, he's going to make some things happen. And let's get real here. Let's give the offensive line credit. I know Tevin Jenkins is banged up once again. I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday or not, but let's give the offensive line some credit. You mentioned the game comes down to the trenches. The Bears have been setting the tone in the trenches at the point of attack these last 2 weeks, especially with the running game. Roschon Johnson, he's starting to get some playing time now. He had 2 rushing touchdowns last week, and so the running game is fine there. On the passing side, I don't know if Keenan Allen's going to play or not, but I want to see Roma Duzay continue to attack, get fat the rock. Cole Kmet, those Jacksonville Jaguars linebackers are a little bit below average, but I think Cole Kmet can take advantage in the middle of the field there if Caleb finds him. So I want to see that passing game continue to improve. I think the running game is going to be there. It may be a little bit tough to start the game as they try to set the tone, but I want to see the passing game starting to improve a little bit more. You can talk about them playing less than better competition the last 2 weeks, but you mentioned Jacksonville. Their record that says they are what they are, but I think they're better than what people think. So it's going to be a tough task for the Bears, but if they stick to the game plan, what they did the last 2 weeks, they shouldn't have no problem. I'm not saying they go blow out the Jaguars. I don't think that's going to happen, but they should increase their chances on winning the game if they follow the same gameplay they have been doing offensively the last 2 weeks.
I don't know about Keenan Allen's stats. I think he is going to play. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, take advantage of that very young, inexperienced secondary of the Jags. You got that front 4. You got Devon Hamilton and Eric Armstead, and Trayvon Walker. I mean, you're trying to take advantage of that front 4. If they can get to that's going to be the best front 4 that they've faced in the last couple weeks. That old line. So if they can't keep Caleb upright. That's going to be a problem. So, it could be come down to, like I said, come down to get the execution in the trenches. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, but like I said, I think everyone say, this should be a problem. But look, I think people need to kind of just taper off on that because, like I said, Jackson, this is not their first time going to London. This is not, they're going to be doing it again. They know what they're doing about traveling and such. So I think people need to kind of just get off them on that and just concentrate on what what they got to do. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, it could be I think it's going to be, well, I should say it's going to be a high scoring affair, but that's interesting to see what happens with that.
How concerned are you about the special teams for both sides? Because the reason I asked this question is because Cairo Santos missed an extra point last week, but he did make his last couple of kicks in their win last week against the Carolina Panthers. On the flip side for Jacksonville, it's been kind of okay, but as far as the Bears concerned, their kickoff return. I brought this up on Monday. I don't know if Coach Eberflus addressed it this week, but you had Khalil Herbert on the kickoff return. Just one time I found that to be strange. And like I said, when Velus Jones got deactivated a couple weeks ago, the kickoff and the punt return should be DeAndre Carter's only. That's it. I don't want to see anybody else back there. So how concerned are you at all about the special teams for the Bears going into this game on Sunday?
Well, I mean, look, we've seen a couple of times where we might see a kickoff or a punt return for a touchdown. So I think I don't know who's going to give it up because both teams are not very good when it comes to that. But it'll be interesting what happens with that. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be raining, so that they don't have to worry about that. But it's going to be about execution of their special teams. So that's going to be the key here. I think could we see maybe perhaps a punt return for a touchdown or a kickoff return for a touchdown? I don't know, but yeah, I mean that could be a key as well. I know people want to say Torrey Taylor, his punting that could be a key as well. But yeah, but you know what? I mean, look, they've got a decent punter. The Jags do too. Logan Cook is actually a really solid punter, so I think that could be both could be a key here too. So yeah, it could be interesting. Like what it's gonna be about field position, execution. I think that's gonna be the two keys for me.
Yeah, and my three keys to the game for the Chicago Bears. First, run the football. 2, rush the passer. And number 3, we'll see if the linebackers can help out that secondary since the secondary may be down 2 people. I want to see those linebackers be smart but be aggressive in taking that ball away and helping the defensive line stop the run. Those will be my 3 keys for the Bears to pull out the victory on Sunday.
This is Second City Sports and Sports in Chicago. Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Let's recap this Sunday nighter in the NFC West between the 49ers and the Seahawks. The 49ers held off the Seahawks 36-24. Brock Purdy, Robert won his best games the last couple of weeks, 255 yards and 3 TDs. He wasn't sacked, so that's the big key there. Geno Smith had 2 interceptions for 312 yards and a TD. Kind of like a running back I can make. I know Jordan Mays was kind of in and out with an ankle injury that's been bothering the last couple of weeks, but it was Isaac Guerrero, 99 rushing yards as well. Only 32 yards for Kenneth Walker III, so they didn't really use the running game too much over there. Deebo Samuel had 102 yards and a TD. George Kittle had 2 TDs, including game winner there as well. Tyler Lockett had a touchdown catch for them. It was kind of back and forth for a little bit, but San Francisco just made the big plays late to hold them off.
Yeah, Seattle offensively started to wake up in that second half. George Kittle 2 touchdowns, yay for my fantasy football team. But I digress. But it all came down to the little things. Looking at and turnovers was the main story for Seattle. Geno Smith, unfortunately, looked like Trent Dilfer. Trying to attack that secondary of the 49ers, trying to feed DK Metcalf twice on those 2 interceptions he threw. Those not smart throws. If you saw his frustration on the sideline last night, you know why. But you mentioned the running game for the Seahawks. It was non-existent last night. And even though they were in the game for the majority of that second half, it just couldn't get going. And the 49ers, as you mentioned, they made the big plays late when they had to. You mentioned George Kittle with those 2 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel had a big game, 3 catches, 402 yards in the score last night. So for the 49ers, they get back to 3-3. And the NFC West, I believe, is still going to be a competitive division. We know about Arizona. Seattle, I think they exposed themselves for who they are for the last couple of weeks, dropping their last 2 home games. So when Christian McCaffrey comes back, if he comes back in the next couple of weeks, that San Francisco running game is going to be not one for the opposition to look forward to, because Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy enough to run the ball. I think that Kyle Shanahan will be smart enough to use him and Jordan Mason as far as split carries. You keep McCaffrey fresh. Also, you keep Jordan Mason fresh as well.
Yeah, that might be the key here, and when he does come back. So a good get right game for the 49ers. They go to 3-3, and we'll see what happens. But it should be the NFC West is going to be a very interesting division. Of course, you've got them. You've got the Rams. We'll see how they look. I know Cooper Kupp's supposed to be back this week, so that should be in Arizona too. I mean, look, if only Arizona would have won a couple of those games that they were close to winning, they probably would have been right there. They probably would be leading the division right now. So could have, should have been. Laviska Shenault had I think just a second for a touchdown for the season for 97 yards. So look, if you only had two kickoff returns for TDs, going into this season with the new kickoff rules, you're in a pretty good spot there. Now going to the rest of the match. You know what? First let's go to something that happened on Tuesday, and Monday. I think it was on Monday, but they're on bye this week. The Jets are, but they fired their coach Robert Saleh, and I think this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody this would happen like this early in the season. I know that Jets have underachieved, but there's a lot of stuff going on that we probably don't know too much about that Jets locker room, I feel like.
Yeah, I heard too that he tried to fire Nathaniel Hackett, who later got the boot. I found that to be weird, but the Jags organization didn't allow Robert Saleh to do that. So they fired Saleh, and he was escorted out by security. He wasn't even allowed to talk to his team, and which was strange. And then, of course, Nathaniel Hackett got the boot later on in the day. At least it was announced anyway. But I heard a whole lot of stuff on both New York sports radio stations. And some people said that Aaron Rodgers, I think the Jets owner Rudy Johnson came out with a statement. Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with it. BS. I heard what Aaron Rodgers had to say the other day on the Pat McAfee show. He said all the right things PR-wise, but to tell me that he didn't have a hand in it, I don't buy it. I just don't. Now, do you think the Jets asked his input? Yes. But are you going to tell me that he didn't have an input in it? I don't think so. If that's the case, I have a bridge with a pile of turd that I can sell you.
Could be very interesting to see what happens here, because apparently, I guess that's one of the teams where current Raiders wide receiver who's not playing this week due to a hamstring injury. Apparently, he wants to go there, so I'm a little worried. I guess they're one of the favorites to land him. I'm talking about the Jets with Adam. So I'm interested in what happens in that instance. So things are kind of getting a little bit messy over there down there, but they have a bye this week, so New York sports radio is going to be talking about this for
they play Monday night against the Jets, so
that's true, Monday night against the Jets, but they're coming back
so against the Bills, I should say.
The Bills. So that's gonna be interesting matchup. We'll talk about that. Well, and also speaking of Monday night, there's gonna be more games on ABC. I'll talk about that after the break. But I mean, it's getting a little bit messy over there, so we'll see what happens. But for those of you who are wondering who are on bye this week, you got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. So adjust your fantasy teams accordingly. One of the games I'm looking forward to, and I don't think anybody had this as a big game, but CBS, their number one teams going to this game in Baltimore. You got the Commanders and the Ravens. Both teams are. I don't think anybody had the Commanders having a better record going into this game. We'll see how that defense does against Jaden Daniels and of course Lamar Jackson. That defense for the Commanders, they've not a lot of big names, but they're really solid too. So for me, I think it's going to be a setting the tone early in that game, and we'll see if the defense of the Ravens can try to rattle. I know Marlon Humphrey said that they want to try to rattle Daniels, so we'll see if they can do that.
Yeah, it's going to be a physical game. If that's the case, which I expect it to be, the battle of the Beltway, we don't see this matchup very often because they play opposite of each other in different conferences. If that's the case, I think it's going to be very low scoring. And you know what I've been saying about this Baltimore offense, Lakin, it's schizophrenic. Some weeks you think, oh yeah, they're on their way, and then other weeks it's like watching paint dry. So I think it's going to be a physical game. We'll see how Jaden Daniels holds up. And if that's the case, I think it can go in the way of the Commanders. Because as of right now, I think they have the better running game than Baltimore does. I know Derrick Henry's been on fire for the last couple of weeks. I said that he's back, and we love to see it as NFL fans. But I think that the Commanders may have a surprise for him. I'll give you my pick on the other side of this break, but I think the Commanders has something in store for him. I really do.
Okay. Yeah, because if Fox has a doubleheader this week, so I'll be watching this game via this computer screen, so that should be a fun one down there in Baltimore. Let's see what other good game should be a good one here. I mean, the Cardinals and the Packers. Like I said, I don't think anybody thought this game would be one of the top games, this week, but it is. So go figure. But I think the Packers defense could be the key here. They may have Kyler Murray running around, but yeah, that's going to be a fun one up there in Lambeau. But they're playing a noon game, so that could play a difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the Packers are gonna could set the tone earlier if they need to.
Yeah, if the Cardinals could take care of the football, I think a lot of points will be put up on the scoreboard. On the flip side, for Green Bay, Jordan Love, as he's trying to get back from his MCL injury, I think he's going to play better now that Romeo Doubs is back for that one game team suspension. Hopefully he has his head on straight because he's going to be a top target for Jordan Love. And Christian Watson, who's been dealing with injuries for the last couple of weeks, he's a game-time decision. I doubt that he plays. So look for Romeo Doubs and Dontavius Wicks to be the top two targets for Jordan Love and the Packers.
All right, should be a fun one there. Bucks and Saints, that should be an interesting one down there in the NFC South. Eagles coming off a bye. They face the Browns. That should be interesting. Going to the AFC South, Titans, they host the Colts. So they're coming off a bye, and I believe Will Levis is going to play. So that should be – nobody's Brothers will have this game for you guys on CBS. So follow us accordingly. The late games, Chargers and Broncos. I mean, the Chargers coming off a bye. Broncos, they've been on a roll last couple of weeks. So that should be a fun one in the AFC West.
Yeah, we'll see about the health of quarterback Justin Herbert because the Broncos defense has been on fire these last 3 weeks. And of course, they're leaning on J.K. Dobbins. I'm talking about the Chargers. He has 2 rushing touchdowns so far this year. On the flip side for Denver, Bo Nix, his numbers doesn't look stellar, but it looks like he's starting to gain confidence every week. As I mentioned, that Broncos defense, Patrick Surtain is one of the best young defenders from the secondary in the NFL. You saw what he did last week against the Raiders.
Yeah, that should be an interesting matchup with those two Steelers and Raiders. Now, it looks like, I don't think they've said whether or not Russell is going to start. So, and the Raiders, all the weirdness is going on over there in Las Vegas. So that should be an interesting matchup coming up in the interdivisional matchup here in the AFC.
And of course, the late game on Fox at 3:25, and most of the nation will get this game coming here in Chicago. The Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. You saw what happened last year in that classic finish down there in Texas Stadium. Detroit had that game won, but Dan Campbell decided to try to trick the rest with bringing in 2-3 offensive linemen. Only one can be eligible as a receiver. I don't think he'll do that again. I think Detroit will play much better. On the flip side for Dallas, hopefully they've found a consistent running game. Dak is not bad, but that Dallas Cowboys defense, if they're not focused this week, we know what kind of website the Lions have offensively. If the Dallas defense is not focused this week, they could be in a world of trouble again.
Yeah. And the Jets, of course, they faced the host of Bills after all that stuff with Coach Saleh. So good to see what their mindset is going into this game against Buffalo. Now, Buffalo, they have their own issues. So you'll be able to see what happens in that matchup as well. Now, we're going to kick off our picks coming up next after the break. And, of course, we'll talk some WNBA, and the ratings have not been very good. Mm-hmm. Also, too, of course, the update from CHSN. Let's just say Sid's in better shape than me in that department. We'll talk about that. And, of course,
really?
Yeah, well, a couple of retirements coming up and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More fun as we wrap this up. And our pick'ems coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in Living Color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments for us as we roll into our Week 5 NFL picks? You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Look in, I'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, now I wish our Big Christine was with us because of course she had some other stuff going on, so she's not with us today. But we're all tied at 38. She had 6. I had you and I both had 7, so now we're all tied at 38 wins so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of shakes out. But I'm looking forward to some of these matchups. I think we're going to disagree on some of these matchups, but we'll see. Look, the scrimmage good for the soul, as they always say. All right, let's talk about that Commanders Ravens matchup, because I think, like I said, we talked about it like before we went to break, that it's really dependent on like who sets the tone early. I you know what? I'll get Christine's pick out the way. She picks Baltimore, and I'm also gonna pick Baltimore because I just think that there's this kind of like, I think they're starting to find their groove. I feel like they got one of their old defense corners. I know he's back there now, so I think that'll definitely help them. He's going to be there as a consultant the rest of the year, so that should be a good way to kind of get things going there on the defensive side. So I think they'll do just to win this game. But it'll be an entertaining one nonetheless.
I will pick Baltimore to win this game, so make it 3-3. But I think the Commanders will make it a little bit closer than what people think. The Ravens will set the tone, especially from the physicality standpoint, and it's going to come down to the running game for both teams. Derrick Henry has been back for the last couple of weeks. I think he'll have another strong performance here, but pay attention on the flip side to Cam Robinson and Jeremy Nichols, perhaps the best 1-2 running back tandem in the league for the Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders will use those two to keep themselves in the ball game, so take their pressure off of Jaden Daniels. But I think it's going to be a physical ball game. Baltimore is going to win, but they'll win it by 3. Baltimore is favored by 6.5 at home.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a high number. So maybe Vegas knows something. Who knows? Cardinals and the Packers. I believe this game is going to be on the Big Fox Network here in Chicago. Yes. So yeah. So Sid, you start this one.
The Packers are favored by 5 at home. We talked about it in our last segment. The Cardinals, they haven't looked good at home all year. They haven't looked that great on the road either. They should have beaten Buffalo there on opening day, but that's a long time ago. Cardinals need to go back to running the football, especially with James Conner, and Kyler Murray will make plays in the air and with his feet. On the flip side for Green Bay, as I mentioned, Jordan Love is starting to get his timing back. He had a little bit of a slow start last week at the Rams, even though they won that game by a few points. But I think this is the week that Jordan Love breaks out, and I think that Packers defense is going to come up with a turnover or two. So playing at home in Lambeau is where the Packers feel most comfortable. I'm going with the Packers here.
I'm also picking the Packers. I think for that reason. I think Arizona. I don't know what to think about this Arizona squad. I mean, you thought that maybe they could make a move. Did they pull off what they did a couple weeks ago? So I don't know what to think about the Arizona squad. I think they got the players, but I just don't think they're there yet. But I think this will be a close game. I'm picking Arizona. Green Bay, I should say. My bad. I almost like a Freudian slip there, but I am picking the Packers, and so is Christine. She's also picking the Packers. So, but I think it's going to be a close game too. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup there. Another game here. You got Houston and the Patriots. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm picking Houston. They should. I know that Nico Collins is going to be gone for a few weeks, but it's the Drake May era over there in Foxborough, but I'm still gonna pick Houston. I think he'll definitely Drake May will give him that energy, but I think Houston's just a better squad, and that's why I'm picking Houston. And so is Christine. She also has Houston.
Make it 3-3. I'm going with Houston. No breakdown here. In their favor, talking about the Texans, they're favored by 6.5 on the road.
Ooh, I would take the over on that one. I would take the over on that game. Again, we know you never know how that's gonna work. So we'll see what happens. All right, the NFC South should be a good one. You got the Bucks and the Saints. The Saints, you wonder, the injuries are starting to kind of pile up for them. The Tampa, it's going to be interesting to see how they come back. I know there's a lot of motion from Hurricane Milton. They left. I think they hightailed out there. I think like on Monday. So to avoid that, so they're all set there. Everyone's safe, which is great to hear. I think for that mindset, because of that, I'm picking Tampa because I just don't trust the Saints, especially Carr's going to be banged up. Carr's banged up, so. Yeah, I just I know everyone's banged up over there in the Big Easy. So I'm picking Tampa. I'm picking Tampa. So is Christy. She also has Tampa.
Hate to say, make it 3-3 here. I'm going with Tampa. If Derek Carr doesn't play, Spencer Rattler, the rookie quarterback, will get the start.
Yeah, that this will be, I think, his first start in the NFL. So Vita Vila, I know he's been a little bit banged up, but Vita Vila is going to want to give him a nice little welcome to the NFL. So I know they're going to be Yeah, so I would pick Tampa on that front. Oh, Chrissy also has Tampa as well. No, really don't. I mean, do we have to really break down this one? Philadelphia coming off a bye, they host Cleveland. We know you guys know Chrissy feels about the Browns, so you're just gonna get out the way. She's picking Philadelphia. I'm also picking Philadelphia, but for different reasons. They should be rested or recharged. I don't know about Devontae or AJ Brown yet, so we'll see if either one or both are back. But even if they are not, that Cleveland, I don't know what's going on over there in Cleveland. So Kevin Stefanski, he might be the next guy to get his pink slip and link card, as our buddy Lamont Scott used to say. May he, God rest his soul. But yeah, I'm picking Philadelphia, and so is Christine. She also has Philadelphia too.
I'm going Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley should lead the charge here for the Philadelphia offense. Jalen Hurts, despite the fact that he's on my fantasy team, that's besides the point. He must play better, especially within the red zone. No turnovers in the red zone, Jalen. No turnovers in the red zone. If he could do that, I think the Eagles should roll over the Cleveland Browns. Philadelphia's favored by 9.5 points at home.
Yeah, this could be a good get right game for Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens there. Hold on, let me the site I was on for the matchups. Give me a second here, kids. But trying to get that schedule. Okay, now while I'm getting this back up, I don't know how the hell this happened, but live. We're doing this live, folks. So sorry about that. A little bit of weirdness there on the tabs here, but where the heck was I? Yes, the AFC South. Of course, like I said, our Race Produce will have this game for CBS. You got the Colts and the Titans. Sid, you start this one.
I think I don't know what the status going to be for Anthony Richardson this week. Anthony Richardson this week, but Joe Flacco did a heck of a job in backup role last week as the Colts nearly got away with the comeback win at Jacksonville. The Titans, they had a week off. I do not trust Will Levis. The Titans do have some talent on both sides of the ball. Like I said, the Colts nearly came back last week. I just don't know that if Anthony Richardson is going to play or not. I really don't like making these picks, but these two teams are evenly matched on the bad side. But call me crazy, but I'm going with the Titans here. And according to Vegas, they're favored by 2.5 points at home.
Well, I mean, like you said, because of Will Levis, I'm not picking the Titans. I'm picking Indy and the Colts.
I don't blame you.
And so is Chris. Yeah, Christian also has the Colts. It looks like Jonathan Taylor will not play, but I don't think it would. I don't think it should matter. They can, try to maybe maneuver some things around. I think I saw some place where I think Richardson is probable, so he might play. That defense. This could be one of those 6-3, 9-6 type of games. I feel bad for Spiro, and I'm not sure if that ends up being the case, but. I mean, yeah, but I just think Indy. I think they're just a little bit better than the Titans. We know how they got guys, but they just don't execute very well. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But it might be one of those weird games down there in Nashville. First of the 3:00 games in a tree one here. You got the Chargers coming off a bye. Looks like everyone should be nice and healed up. They face Denver, who is playing very well lately on a couple of games in a row, and not really doing too much. I mean, look, Bo Nix isn't really doing anything different, so he hasn't made any big mistakes. Jeez. I might regret this, but let's ride the Broncos train. Why the heck not? I think they have been playing well. I know Cortland Sutton have a nice game against the Chargers defense. And incidentally, Christine's also picking her hubby's team, the Broncos. So just get that out the way. But yeah, sure, why not? Let's keep the Broncos train on trucking.
I like to stir things up. I'm going with the Chargers. Here's why. They're going to run the ball with J.K. Dobbins. You're not going to put all that pressure on Justin Herbert, who's still injured. And the defense for the Chargers will be well rested as well. So they're going to come after Bo Nix and make a living turkey dinner out of him. So I'm going with the Chargers. And the Chargers are favored by 3 points even on the road.
Yeah, so definitely a pick 'em. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. If they get a couple of pick sixes. I can see what you call out Joey Bosa getting a couple of picks, getting a pick six. I mean, and also too, I know Khalil Mack. We haven't heard his name a lot this year, so I can see them doing that. Wouldn't be surprised. The Steelers and the Raiders. Jesus, again another one of these ugly matchups. If you're gonna pick this game, I wouldn't go nowhere near it. Congrats to you. Gosh, I know it was like Aiden O'Donnell is gonna get the start. Oh God, Jesus! Happy birthday to TJ Watt, by the way. Steelers. Yeah, God, Steelers. I guess more. I don't know. Look, somebody's got to win. Unless it's a tie, somebody's got to win this game. So I guess I'll pick the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going with Pittsburgh as well.
Wait, hold on. Let me double check Christine's picks. I think she's got the Steelers. Just want to make sure. Yes, she has the Steelers too. So yeah, we all have the Steelers there. All right, NFC South, Falcons and the Panthers. So you start this one.
The Falcons are 3-2, 1-0 away from the Mercedes-Benz Dome. The Panthers are 1-4, 0-2 at home. We saw what the Panthers did here in Chicago last week, which was not much. The Falcons have kind of been up and down all year. Kirk Cousins had a 500-yard passing day last Thursday against Tampa Bay in an overtime win at home. The Panthers, they do have some weapons, but should I pull the trigger or not? Because the Falcons, they still haven't gotten going on a consistent basis, but the Panthers, they haven't played bad at home. They almost pulled off an upset against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. I think they'll keep this game close, but I just don't trust them to pull it out at the end. But I'm going with the Falcons here. I'm going with the Falcons. Atlanta's favored by 6 on the road.
Oh, okay, so 6. So, yeah, I mean, look, they've played better. I'm talking about the Panthers have lately. And Chuba Hubbard, I think, could be the key in this game if they, decide to, run the ball. I'm talking about the Panthers. So, I don't know. I mean, like you said, they almost pulled off the upset last time they were at home. So, but again, I just don't really. The Falcons are kind of like hard to figure out too. So, yeah, but you know what? I'll pick the Falcons. I just think that they're a little bit better, and I just don't know. I just don't trust the Panthers in that respect. So I'll pick the Falcons. So does Christine. She also has the Falcons as well. And this is the big game of the week on Fox. Of course, Tom Brady.
America's game of the week.
And of course, Tom Brady will be back in Dallas calling this game, calling the Cowboys game. Detroit. You guys remember that matchup last year where Dan Campbell, I know he's smart. I'm sure he's still smarting from that one. But I'm going to pick Detroit. I think they should have won this. Won this matchup last year, and I think they're going to. I think they're starting to kind of get it. They're starting to kind of get it right. So yeah, I'm picking Detroit. I think Detroit will steal this one at home.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm picking the Cowboys only because I think they found themselves a running game with that rookie running back. His name escapes me for a moment, but he had a good game last week. Dak Prescott came up big with a big drive, game-winning drive last week at Pittsburgh to win it last Sunday night. Now, their defense, like I said, it still concerns me. I'm talking about the Cowboys. We'll see what they do against Jared Goff. Remember, they didn't do anything exotic last year against Jared Goff, and they had much better defense last year. So they got to get creative. They got to put some pressure on Goff. They got to stop the running game with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. But I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as it was last year, but I can see somewhere in between like 20-17, 24-20, 24-17, somewhere in that range. But I think Dallas will build off that momentum last week in that comeback victory over Pittsburgh. So I'm going with Dallas in a close one at home. And Detroit is favored by 3 on the road.
So I guess Vegas knows something. Christine also has Detroit. So yeah, it should be hopefully it gets down to a wire. Nothing weird happens Nothing weird happens, although something might happen weird. So we'll see what happens there. Now, the Sunday nighter, you got Cincy and the Giants. I know the Giants have been playing very well the last couple of games. I know that they play very well in Seattle. Daniel Jones actually looked good. The defense has been pretty good. I think Cincy's starting to kind of get it going here, even though they did have that tough loss to Baltimore last week. Jesus. This is gonna. I guess I'll pick. Christine has Cincy. Just to clarify that. I'm picking Cincy too. I just don't. I don't know what to think about the Giants. I just don't know what to think about them.
I don't know if their rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors, so talking about for the Giants, will play this week. We'll see.
He's not going
to play.
He's
okay.
not. Nope.
Well, well, it makes my pick that much easier. Then I'm going with the Bengals here. The Cincinnati's favored by 4 in a row.
All right. Of course, you got the Monday night. You got Buffalo and the Jets. We'll see. We'll see how the Jets look. With the new interim coaching staff, Jeff Aldrich. Jesus. You start this. No, you start this one, Sid.
Yeah, we know Buffalo. Even what happened last year in the Aaron Rodgers 4-play, I got injured for the rest of the season game. The Jets play well and won in overtime, courtesy of Xavier Gibson's punt return. But before then, the Bills had their struggles in the mental at MetLife Stadium over the last few years. I think the Jets will play better. The Bills are the better team on paper, but Josh Allen being dinged up toward the end of that game last week in Houston, that concerns me. I assume that he's going to play, but just because New York's at home, the pressure's more on Buffalo than the Jets. First place is on the line, believe it or not. Look at their records. I'm going with the Jets again.
All right. Christine has Buffalo. Yeah, this is a tough one. Gosh, I think they should be able to rally around their new coaching staff. Buffalo is a little, like you said, they're as a whole, not just Al, but as a whole, they're banged up. Like you said, this is for first place in that AFC East. So I guess they should get a little bit of a spark. So I would say I'll pick the Jets too. But again, I don't know what to look. I don't know what to think about this Jets squad, but they should be able to get a little bit of a pick me up there with the new energy. So yeah, I think the Jets should be able to win this one, but I think it's going to be a close one. So it should be entertaining. And those of you who are wondering, yes, there will be a Manning cast on ESPN2 for this game. It might be. That should help a little bit in the entertainment value. So we'll see. I know Peyton Eli and Coach Belichick are going to have something to say about this stuff going on over there with the Jets. Now, last but not least, the first game on the docket for Week 6 in London, you got the Bears and the Jags. It's actually a home game, I believe, for the Jags. Even though, yes, technically the Bears they do the whole we're reverse scoreboard thing. So don't get too confused. But this will be their first the game. Of course, both teams go on bye after this. We said it earlier. I don't know. I think it's gonna be close. So I know people want to say, "Oh, go Jacksonville got there, laid, blah blah blah, they should blow them out pretty handily." You guys don't watch a lot of football if you really believe that. So it should be a close one. But again, it's the third week where I'm doing this. The Bears, they should win this game, but with other caveats, where if they get the run game going, talk about the Jags. Especially, you're not going to have guys, you have two guys, you're going to probably have one of your top guys in the secondary. That could be probably the thing here. This could be the trap game. So the Bears, with the caveat that don't be surprised the Jets end up, doing what they can to win this.
I think the Bears will step up and play well offensively. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about that run defense for Chicago, and I'm worried about that secondary. You could be down possibly 2 guys, but I think the Bears will come up with that big turnover at the end, and I think they'll win it at the end on the leg of Carlos Santos. With that being said, I'm going with the Bears, and they are favored by 1. So is that a pick 'em, basically?
Yeah, so it's a toss-up, basically. So Christine also has the Bears. So, yeah. So that means that Trevor Lawrence is probably going to throw for 4 touchdowns. Probably one of his best games probably so far this season. He's due for one. So we all think Cam's due for one. But look, Trevor Lawrence has been due for one too. So don't be surprised, especially if the Bears defense is going to be shorthanded. They may happen. So just saying. But those are our picks for the NFL Week 6.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina hanging out here with you. We still have a few minutes left before we close up shop for the weekend. Lakina, give us your take on the game one of the WNBA Finals 2024 edition between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. It came down to a late second shot that was missed by one superstar player.
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't been watching playoffs, and if you saw the ratings, unfortunately, I think other people are. Well, I have my reasons. It's not for the reason you guys think, but yeah, the ratings have not been very good. So, after Caitlin Clark and her Atlanta Fever got eliminated, but yeah, I mean, they were down. I think the Lynx were down. I think like 13 with like early in the fourth quarter. They were able to make some big plays late to win that game. They forced overtime, and one of their top players, and her name escapes me. I think I forgot. I'll look it up real quick. But yeah, I mean, look, Minnesota did enough to win. I know the Liberty is going to be smarting after that loss. They should have won that game, and they couldn't hang on. Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart, they were kind of off. They were
Yeah,
really
she
off
missed
in
that
that
last second
overtime.
shot last night. Talking about Stewart.
She did. Yeah. So So I'm sure she's gonna have nightmares about that shot. But they do play. I believe they play again on Sunday, so they'll be able to kind of they'll have a couple of games to kind of stew on that. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, but they got look. I mean, the Lynx, their core, they got some of their key components for 3-3. I mean, Kayla McBride hit some big shots later. She was the one that kind of started that comeback for the Lynx. So we'll see if New York is best of 5, so they got some time to hash it out. So yeah, the game 2 is going to be Saturday at 2:00 on ABC.
All right. You said that the Monday Night Football will be airing more games on ABC. I'll just read the tweet from Ben Fisher, SBJ. Of course, you mentioned Monday, the Bills and Jets will be on ABC. The following week, week 7, Baltimore at Tampa Bay. Week 9, Tampa Bay at Kansas City. That should be a good one. Excuse me. Week 11, Houston at Dallas. The Battle of Texas. That's definitely going to be an interesting game. Week 12, Baltimore at Los Angeles, the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yes,
they're going to be hyping up that game more ways than one. And of course, week 16, New Orleans at Green Bay. So those are the additional Monday Night Football games will be airing simulcast style on ABC.
I just, I don't know why they'll just put the games back on ABC on a regular basis. If you saw the ratings have actually been good. Those 2 games where they had the cross way for the doubleheader. I don't know why they don't do that, because like ABC Monday Night Football. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know how weird things that people do for networks, but sometimes, but yeah, it's good that maybe ESPN, they're realizing that, and they're gonna have more games on Monday nights on ABC. Duh. So yeah, that should be a fun one there. A couple of guys have announced their retirement after 22 Grand Slam titles, including 14 French Opens. Rafael Nadal decides to call it a career. Injuries and such. He's going to wrap up his career. The irony is that he's going to be wrapping up his career where it began in the Davis Cup, because if you remember it was 04 Cup where he beat Andy Roddick. I think that was a semifinal between Spain and the United States, and Juan Carlos Ferrero, he was struggling with his confidence. So I forgot who the captain was at the time, but he pulled in a young 18-year-old scrappy young lad from Mallorca. And of course, he upset Eddie Roddick, who actually, I think he was number 2 at the time behind Fed. And that's when the legend started. So even Eddie Roddick, to his credit, has said he's a pretty smart follower too. Follow Eddie Roddick on Twitter X, because he's a great follow. But that's when the legend began. And of course, we all saw what happened after that. So it's definitely the end of an era in men's tennis.
Yeah, you mentioned congratulations to him on a great career. And, I've been asking of this for a while, excuse me, about who's going to be the next guy to be the face of USA men's tennis. I talk about it in golf all the time. Who's going to be that Tiger? He's one of a kind. Since his career is starting to go on to the other side because of age and injuries, all that. Who's going to be that guy to fill those shoes for USA men's tennis?
Could be interesting to see what happens with that. Now, another guy that announced his retirement, Danny Green. After three titles with three different squads, he decided to call the 16-year career. He decided to call it a career there. Only 8 players to have three NBA titles with three different teams. So, for the great, probably the perfect six man is he had a great career over in North Carolina. He's probably going to get into the Hall of Fame eventually, but injuries and such and age, I think that's what kind of got him in the end there. But a really solid career for Mr. Green as well.
Yeah, he was one of those role players that knew his position. He played it to perfection. He was on that San Antonio team that won I believe he was on that San Antonio team that won the title in 2014. I remember him and Gary Neal had the hot shooting series the year before when they lost to the Miami Heat. Of course, he was at the tail end of his career, but he helped LeBron win his only ring to this point with the Los Angeles Lakers in that COVID year in 2020, and he was on that Toronto team in 2019, helping Kawhi Leonard to his only title with the Raptors. So he was a very good role player throughout his career, and I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer or not. I don't sense that, but he knew his role. He did it well to the best of his ability, and hats off to him on a very good career. And he's doing very well over the last few years in his role in the media as he's trying to find his space.
Yeah, he has a podcast now that's pretty popular. You might see him doing some television, especially with Amazon once that starts, or maybe with NBC once that contract starts after in the next season. So
speaking of that, Lakina, go ahead.
No, just want to finish up real quick. No, just want to finish up real quick. His career in North Carolina. Remember, he won. He was all ACC. He was McDonald's All American 05. Won a championship in 09 with Tyler Hansborough. So I think because of those accomplishments, because remember this is the Basketball Hall of Fame. This year's will be this weekend on NBA TV. So you guys check that at 6:00. I think the coverage starts. I think that's probably how he'll get to Hall of Fame because of his accomplishments in the college, also because, like I said, he was a McDonald's All American. So that's why I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. I think.
Real quick, I don't know if you checked out coming back from one of the commercial breaks last night during the 49ers Seahawks game. Amazon's starting to advertise the NBA for next year, next year in October 2025. So I said, yeah, Turner, you're not coming back. That lawsuit is going to get dropped. Amazon is advertising that you're going to come watch our games on Amazon Prime starting October of next year. So for those of you that have been in the dark, Turner and the NBA will end his relationship after this upcoming season. And the games they were airing on TNT, they'll be airing on Amazon Prime. Also, too, Amazon Prime will get the play-in tournament games and one conference final game. So all the games that used to air on TNT, they'll be airing on Amazon Prime starting next year.
Speaking of no real updates with the CHSN, the new channel that's started a couple of weeks ago. DirecTV, if you have Uverse too, you're the only ones that have it. There are some that are saying that there could be a direct-to-consumer type of thing. YouTube TV for us, YouTube TV subscribers. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen because, like we talked about with our buddy Judy Swika again earlier this week, they don't think RSNs or regional sports networks are worth the investments. Not the business model, but I digress. But we'll see. Excuse me, the next few months, because I don't think. Look, I know people will say, "Well, you just get an antenna." Look, that's a pain in the butt to have to. What if you don't have the hookups for it? So that's just kind of silly to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I just read the latest article from Scott Powers, who covers the Blackhawks with Mark Lazarus for the Athletic. He says the same thing. As of 1 o'clock Chicago time, now as of 2 o'clock Chicago time, if you're watching this live, CHSN is not available on Comcast/Xfinity. You know I have Comcast cable, and so the YouTube, the HD channels 200 and 201. They used to be on NBC Sports Chicago. They're blank right now, so any day now that deal could be reached. And I know the Blackhawks, they played tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. That game's on the road. That's at 7 o'clock on CHSN locally here in Chicago. But if they reached a deal, if they would have reached a deal late last night, that game would have been aired. Maybe something strange could happen between now and puck drop tonight. But Lakina, you saw my tweet last week. It was a pain in the neck to move it around. Talking about my 15-year-old dusty antenna. So, but like we said, we all know that the network's going to get off. They're going to go through some growing pains. But I don't know if you heard our friend Jay Sawatsky, friend of the program, of course now CHGO. He had a commentary yesterday explaining the situation, and it looks like that we all know that it comes down to money at the end after all this, but he said this. I'm trying to paraphrase as best way I can. It looks like CHSN is trying to bully Xfinity / Comcast to have the games on at their price rate. Xfinity has a hard line, and CHSN is not willing to budge. And if that's the case, CHSN is going to be suffering PR wise for a while. And if that's the case, and they finally agreed to Xfinity Comcast's terms, this deal could have been reached at the start of that network when that network started last week.
Usually that's what happens. It's like, this is supposed to be, that they're pricing this much or priced that much, like a week or two later. Because you saw that with DirecTV and Disney. They had that whole thing where, they don't want to, pay for our price, blah, blah, blah. And then look what happened. Like a week or two later, like, hey, now they're back on. Now they got the direct. Now they actually do have a direct consumer type of streaming, and they're actually going to have a lighter version coming up later this year with some interesting package of channels. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see if this happens sort of similarly. So we'll see. But like I said, you'll have CHSM earlier than me, if at all. So So if you're looking for Xfinity, you have more hope than us YouTube TV subscribers. But I digress. Real quick before we go off, I know we're up against it, but. Cubs owner Tom Ricketts kind of like has a similar, like a smaller version of the same letter that Jerry Reiser, owner of the White Sox, did. Just a bunch of word salad. I mean, I know it's smaller than a word salad, but it's sort of like a little small bowl of salad. Dude, you can't hinge on that 2016 World Series. You can't. Your manager already said that. Hey, look, he needs help. He needs to go after some guys. Stop being a cheapskate and open up the checkbook. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna swear because there's no point. It's sort of it makes me look ignorant. So look, just open the checkbook. Let Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins do their jobs, and same thing with Craig Counsell. If he gives you a wish list of people he wants you guys to pursue, do it. Open the checkbook because Cubs fans are not having it.
I think we could drop the mic on that one. I'll just follow up by saying this, taking my Sox head off for a minute. Cubs fans are not as quote unquote dumb as you think, and fans like Lakina, they had it. And with Jed Hoyer's job being on the line next year, he better act like his job is on the line with these moves that he should be and are expected to make. You don't know what's going to happen with Milwaukee next year. Cincinnati is that team on the rise. They got a new manager, Terry Francona. St. Louis could be, but we'll see what they'll do. Pittsburgh, they always step on their own 2 feet. But this is an opportunity. We said this around this time last year, Lakina. This is a chance for the Cubs to take advantage of a soft NL Central division. You got to be aggressive, got to make moves, and put yourself in a position to make the playoffs. If they don't do that next year, there's some heads that should be rolling, i.e. Jed Hoyer's. That's all I'll say.
All right. And also, too, from the Get Ready to Feel Old files, Carlos Boozer's kids, twin sons, Cameron and Camden, they're following their dad's footsteps. They're going to be playing for John Shire over at Duke. Both are 2 top recruits. I think it was out to them. I think Duke, Kansas. I think there were a couple of West Coast schools, too, I believe. But, yeah, they ultimately decided to follow their dad's footsteps on to Duke.
Congratulations to them.
Feeling old with that.
I know.
Remember when their dad was at Duke. Of course, maybe they'll do well and win a national championship, like he did. So we'll see what happens. Oh, and it's going to be Derrick Rose Day on January 4th, 2025. That's when the Bulls will honor. We'll have D Rose night. So that should be a fun one. And for those who are wondering the parallels here. Of course, he wore number 1 when he was in Chicago, wore number 4 because they're going to be playing the Knicks that night. And also, 2025 was the number he wore when he was at Simeon, won a couple of championships there. So, perfect symmetry there.
Hopefully, they'll raise number 1 up to the rafters that night. I don't know if that's going to happen, but they'll be great to cap off that night. We'll see what happens.
Anything else said before we disperse?
Oh yes, Major League Baseball. Not on a sad note, but the Atlanta Braves, as of right now, they're the only team that'll be on Bally Sports next year. But the Minnesota Twins, the Texas Rangers, the Cleveland Guardians, and I believe you correct me if I'm wrong, the Milwaukee Brewers, they have all been given the boot.
Yeah.
So their games will be produced by Major League Baseball unless they find some deals to have a over-the-air broadcast. I know the Texas Rangers are looking for the over-the-air broadcast deal right now, but all the other teams I just mentioned, their games will be produced by Major League Baseball starting next year.
Hopefully they'll find some homes, like you said, the direct-to-consumer free TV. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. But yeah, those teams, are going to be looking for new homes. Well, they're going to be produced by LB, but yeah, they're going to be looking for a new home. So we'll see what happens. It should be interesting.
All right, Lakina closes out.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG SCK80. Once again, it's SIDKID. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And I know the feed's off right now, but hopefully we'll be back on Roku TV. Just type in Sports Zone Chicago. Once we get back up and running on Roku TV, you can catch our replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellows, and a whole lot more. Sports Zone Chicago, anytime, anywhere. Hopefully we'll be back up soon on Roku TV.
And when that happens, we will be there to provide.
All right, so enjoy all the games coming up. Of course, you got Major League Baseball finishing up those best of 5 divisional series. If you're into WNBA, you can check that out too. Of course, NFL, college football, and so much more. And also too, college hoops. We starting their first big practices coming up. I know Kentucky's has theirs, I think, later on tonight. Mark Pope back at the helm. Of course, new era down there at Arkansas with John Calipari. So that should be a fun one. We'll talk college hoops at some point in the next few weeks, but it should be a fun season coming up there as well. So for Sid, I'm Lakia. It's Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Go Bears. Holla!